Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are returning to the most recognized name in all of watchmaking, a manufacturer whose green crown logo is understood on every continent, in every culture, and at every level of society as a universal symbol of achievement, precision, and enduring quality. We are talking about Rolex. But today's list is not simply a celebration of the brand's most famous references. It is a carefully considered journey through 10 watches that collectively represent the full range of what Rolex does, from the quietly confident everyday wearer to the most prestigious and most coveted timepiece in the entire catalog. Every reference on today's list earns its place through outstanding engineering, iconic design, and the kind of lasting desirability that only a handful of manufacturers in history have ever genuinely achieved. Whether you are building your first collection or refining one that already spans decades, these are the Rolex watches that matter most. Let's get into it. Number 10. Rolex Datejust 41. The Rolex Datejust 41 is the watch that anchors the entire Rolex collection, the reference that most completely embodies the brand's founding philosophy of producing an elegant, reliable, and self-winding date watch that serves its wearer perfectly in every circumstance life presents. Since 1945, the Datejust has been the backbone of Rolex's commercial and reputational identity, and the current 40 Maybe iteration carries that legacy forward with a combination of contemporary scale and entirely classical sensibility that feels both of its moment and completely timeless. The 41mm oyster case opens up the dial to a presence and legibility that the smaller 36mm cannot quite match, while remaining well within the proportional boundaries that define the Datejust's identity as a watch of refinement rather than ostentation. The range of dial, bezel, and bracelet combinations available across the Datejust 41 family is among the most extensive in the Rolex catalog, from the clean simplicity of a smooth bezel on an oyster bracelet to the classical glamour of a fluted white gold bezel on a Jubilee, ensuring that every wearer finds a configuration that genuinely reflects their own character and taste. The caliber 3235 within is Rolex's finest current self-winding manufacture movement. A 70-hour power reserve, Chronergy escapement for improved energy efficiency, Parachrome hairspring for superior shock and magnetic resistance, and superlative chronometer certification to within -2 + 2 seconds per day. The Datejust 41 is the Rolex that does everything right, every time, without ever drawing unnecessary attention to itself. The Rolex Datejust 41 retails for approximately $9,150 USD. Number 9. Rolex Air King 11900. The Rolex Air King reference 1116900 is one of the most singular and most immediately distinctive watches in the entire Rolex catalog, a professional instrument watch with a design identity entirely its own, rooted in a heritage of aviation that stretches back to Rolex's celebration of the pioneering airmen of the 1930s, whose courage and skill defined a transformative era in human history. The 1116900's black dial is dominated by an arrangement of bold Arabic numerals at 3, 6, and 9 that draw direct inspiration from the instrument panel design philosophy of professional aviation: clarity, legibility, and the complete absence of any unnecessary visual information. The distinctive yellow seconds hand provides a precise, immediately readable indication against the black dial surface, and the combination of oversized crown and Air King typography creates a dial composition of absolute graphic certainty. The 40mm oyster case is built to the full professional specification that defines every Rolex tool watch: 100 meters of water resistance, a screw-down crown, and a case finished with the alternating brushed and polished surfaces that Rolex has refined to an industry-standard level of quality over decades of manufacture. The caliber 3230 within, equipped with a 70-hour power reserve, Chronergy escapement, and superlative chronometer certification, performs with the quiet, unhurried precision that the Air King's design demands. In a market crowded with watches that try too hard to be interesting, the Air King achieves genuine distinction through complete conviction of purpose. The Rolex Air King 1116900 retails for approximately $8,100 USD. Number 8. Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36 is the purist's Rolex. The watch stripped of every complication, every bezel treatment, and every additional feature beyond the absolute essentials of a self-winding mechanical timepiece in Rolex's most fundamental and most historically significant case format, executed to the full superlative chronometer standard that governs every watch that leaves the Geneva manufacturer. At 36 mm, the Oyster Perpetual occupies the case size that defined the date just for decades, and that remains the proportional sweet spot for a remarkable range of wrist sizes and wearing occasions, neither too large nor too small, fitting beneath a shirt cuff as easily as it reads across a boardroom table. What makes the current Oyster Perpetual 36 so compelling is Rolex's decision to use it as the canvas for some of the most joyful and most creatively satisfying dial colors in the entire current catalog. From the deep turquoise blue and the vivid candy pink to the warm yellow and the rich coral red. All finished to a standard of sunray brushing and lacquering that produces surfaces of extraordinary depth and luminosity in a watch at this price point. The caliber 3230 within delivers the same 70-hour power reserve, chronergy escapement, and superlative chronometer performance found in Rolex's more expensive professional references. Because at Rolex, the standard does not vary with the price. The Oyster Perpetual 36 is the proof that watchmaking at its most honest needs nothing more than the perfect execution of the fundamentals. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36 retails for approximately $6,150 USD. Number 7. Rolex Explorer I-124270. The Rolex Explorer I-reference 124270 is the watch whose origins are among the most romantic and most historically significant in all of horology. A timepiece developed for the extreme demands of high-altitude mountaineering whose lineage traces directly to the watches worn on the greatest climbing achievement in human history. On May 29, 1953, a Rolex was on the wrist of Edmund Hillary's expedition when Tenzing Norgay stood on the summit of Everest for the first time, and the Explorer that followed was Rolex's tribute to that achievement and the standard it set. The 124270 represents a moment of great significance in the Explorer's modern history. Rolex's decision to return the reference to its classic 36mm proportions, a choice that was greeted with widespread collector enthusiasm and which produced a watch of proportional perfection that the larger 39mm predecessor, for all its quality, could not quite replicate. The black dial with its bold Arabic numerals at 3, 6, and 9, its Mercedes hands filled with generous luminous material, and its complete absence of any unnecessary detail creates a composition of such considered legibility and such confident simplicity that it feels simultaneously entirely of its era and entirely outside of time. The caliber 3230 with its 70-hour power reserve and superlative chronometer certification inhabits an Oyster case rated to 100 meters, more than sufficient for the conditions any wrist-borne instrument is likely to encounter. The Explorer Watch 124270 is the watch you wear everywhere, forever, without reservation. The Rolex Explorer I-124270 retails for approximately $8,000 USD. Number 6. Rolex Milgauss EN16400 GV. The Rolex Milgauss EN16400 GVV is the most visually distinctive and most technically singular reference in the current Rolex sports watch catalog. A watch whose engineering heritage is as extraordinary as its appearance, and whose appearance is unlike anything else the manufacturer produces. The Milgauss was conceived in the 1950s for scientists and engineers working in environments of intense electromagnetic interference. Particle physicists at CERN, engineers in power generation facilities, researchers in laboratories where conventional watch movements would be rendered inaccurate by the magnetic field surrounding them. The solution Rolex developed was an inner cage of soft iron that shields the entire movement from external magnetic fields, allowing the Milgauss to withstand exposure of up to 1,000 Gauss without affecting its superlative chronometer accuracy. The 11400 GV brings this extraordinary engineering heritage into the present with two features that make it the most immediately recognizable Milgauss ever produced. The Z-Blue dial, an electric blue surface of striking luminosity that is exclusive to this reference within the entire Rolex catalog, and the green sapphire crystal that sits above it, tinting the view of the dial with a subtle warmth that in certain light conditions produces a visual effect entirely unlike any other watch glass in production. The iconic lightning bolt seconds hand completes a design of absolute character and conviction. The caliber 3131 with its paramagnetic blue parachrome hairspring performs with superlative chronometer precision in the watch Rolex built for those who push the boundaries of scientific knowledge. The Rolex Milgauss 11400 GV retails for approximately $2,300 USD. Number 5. Rolex GMT Master 2 126E7 NAN BLNNR. The Rolex GMT Master the 2 reference, my 12667 WLNR, known universally and affectionately among collectors as the Batman, is the most technically demanding and most visually commanding variant of Rolex's iconic 2-time zone complication, and its combination of blue and black ceramic bezel has established it as one of the defining sports watch silhouettes of the current era. The GMT Master was developed in collaboration with Pan American World Airways in 1954 to give their intercontinental pilots a reliable instrument for simultaneously reading 2 time zones, a complication whose practical utility has only grown more relevant as international travel has become a defining feature of professional and personal life worldwide. The 126710 BLNR presents this complication in the configuration that Rolex introduced in 2013, and which immediately generated extraordinary collector demand. A 2-tone Serichrome ceramic bezel in blue and black that distinguishes the day and night hours of the home time zone with a clarity and visual drama that the earlier aluminum insert bezels could never achieve. The Jubilee bracelet on the 12667 BLNR is a crucial element of its identity. Its 5-link construction and refined proportions give the Batman a dressier, more sophisticated wearing character that balances the boldness of the 2-tone bezel with unexpected elegance. The caliber 3285 within is Rolex's dedicated GMT manufacture movement, reading home time on a 24-hour hand, local time on the standard 12-hour display, and providing a date complication, all regulated to superlative chronometer standards with a 70-hour power reserve. The Batman is the GMT for collectors who want presence, performance, and personality in a single extraordinary package. The Rolex GMT Master the 12667 BLNR retails for approximately $1,500 to $200 U. Number 4. Rolex Daytona 11500 LN. The Rolex Daytona reference, Naramaki 11500 LN, is the most coveted production chronograph in the world, a watch whose waiting lists at authorized dealers stretch to years, whose pre-owned market premiums reflect a level of sustained global demand that no other chronograph from any manufacturer has ever matched, and whose design is so completely resolved and so thoroughly right that it has remained essentially unchanged in its fundamental character since Paul Newman wore an earlier Daytona reference in the 1960s and transformed it into a cultural icon. The 1116500 LN presents the Daytona in its definitive current form, a 40mm oyster case in oyster steel with a black Serichrome ceramic bezel carrying a tachymeter scale rendered with a precision and legibility that the earlier aluminum bezels could not approach, paired with either a white or black dial configuration in which the 3 chronograph subdials are arranged with a symmetry and balance that remains the gold standard for racing chronograph design after 6 decades of continuous production. The relationship between the Daytona and motorsport is not a marketing association. It is a genuine technical heritage, with the tachymeter bezel enabling drivers to calculate average speeds from elapsed time and the chronograph complication providing the precise elapsed time measurement that racing demands. The caliber 4130 manufacture chronograph movement within is Rolex's own, featuring a column wheel and vertical clutch for smooth chronograph engagement and a 72-hour power reserve in a caliber whose development represented years of engineering investment and whose execution reflects Rolex's manufacture capability at its most ambitious. The Daytona 11500 LN is the chronograph that every collector wants and almost nobody can simply walk in and buy. The Rolex Daytona 16500 LN retails for approximately $16,550 USD. Number 3. Rolex Submariner 12666 Pro LN. The Rolex Submariner reference, 1266610 LN, is, by any objective measure, the most iconic wristwatch ever made. The timepiece that invented the modern dive watch category in 1953 and has occupied the undisputed summit of that category for every one of the 7 decades since. The black bezel, black dial Submariner in steel is the configuration that collectors mean when they say simply the Sub, the watch that is simultaneously a professional instrument rated to 300 meters, a design icon recognized by people who have never read a watch publication in their lives, and a benchmark of build quality and movement performance against which every other watch in every other category is ultimately measured. The 1266110 LN represents the Submariner at its current and most technically evolved state. The 41mm oyster case, a fraction larger than the previous generation's 40mm, wears with a wrist authority and presence that the watch carries with complete ease. The black Cerachrom ceramic bezel insert is scratch-resistant and fade-proof to a standard that the aluminum inserts of previous generations could never approach, and the Oyster bracelet with its glide lock extension system fits with a security and comfort that remains unmatched by any competitor's bracelet engineering. The caliber 3230 within delivers a 70-hour power reserve, Chronergy escapement for 15% greater energy efficiency, Parachrome hairspring for superior magnetic and shock resistance, and superlative chronometer certification to within -2 + 2 seconds per day. Manufacturer-level performance in a watch whose tool watch origins are written into every design decision. The Submariner 126666 RELON is worn by collectors, divers, heads of state, and people who simply know that it is the one watch that will never be wrong, never look out of place, and never stop being exactly what it has always been. The Rolex Submariner 12666 on NOLN retails for approximately $10,800 USD. Number 2. Rolex Skydweller 326934. The Rolex Skydweller reference 326934 is the most technically sophisticated and most intellectually ambitious watch that Rolex currently produces. A timepiece that introduces two complications of genuine horological substance into the Rolex catalog and delivers them through a system of such elegant mechanical ingenuity that it has earned considerable admiration from across the watchmaking industry since its introduction in 2012. The Skydweller houses an annual calendar and a dual time zone indication, two complications that in combination address the precise needs of the international traveler with a comprehensiveness that no other Rolex reference approaches. The annual calendar advances automatically through months of 30 and 31 days without correction, requiring only a single manual date adjustment at the end of February each year. The off-center 24-hour disc for the second time zone reads AM and PM with immediate clarity, allowing the wearer to monitor home time at a glance while the main dial displays local time. The ring command bezel, a rotating bezel coupled to the movement through a patented mechanical interface, allows the wearer to set all functions without additional pushers or a complex crown protocol, a solution of such mechanical cleverness that Rolex holds the patent with considerable justification. The 326934 presents this extraordinary technical content in a 42 mm Oyster case in oyster steel with a fluted white gold bezel, a combination of steel and precious metal that gives the Skydweller a dressy sporting character entirely its own within the Rolex portfolio. The caliber 9001 self-winding movement within is among the most complex calibers Rolex has ever produced, and its execution to superlative chronometer standards reflects the manufacturer's ability to maintain its quality standards regardless of movement complexity. The Rolex Skydweller 326934 retails for approximately $18,600 USD fees. Number 1. Rolex Day Date 4022839. The Rolex Day Date reference 228239 takes the top position on today's list, and in doing so, claims the place that has been its birthright since the day date was introduced in 1956, as the first watch ever to display the day of the week spelled out in full on the dial alongside the date. The day date is Rolex's most prestigious watch. It has always been Rolex's most prestigious watch. Crafted exclusively in precious metal, no stainless steel version has ever existed, and none ever will. The day date is the watch that Rolex reserves for the expressions of achievement and status that its more accessible references do not seek to address. The list of those who have worn the day date reads as a cross-section of 20th and 21st century power and influence, presidents and prime ministers, business leaders, and cultural icons. And Rolex has never discouraged the association, because the day date was designed from the outset to be exactly this: the summit of the manufacturer's ambition for what a wristwatch can represent in a human life. The 228239 presents the Day Date 40 in 18-karat white gold, Rolex's most refined precious metal, with a smooth bezel that allows the full architectural focus of the design to rest on the dial and its extraordinary day and date displays. The President bracelet on which it is mounted is one of the most recognizable and most imitated bracelet designs in watchmaking history. 3 semicircular links of solid precious metal that have adorned the wrists of the powerful for nearly 7 decades. The dial options available across the Day Date 40 family are among the most spectacular in the Rolex catalog, from brilliantly sunburst finished precious metal surfaces to the extraordinary meteorite dials formed from genuine iron-nickel meteorites whose Widmanstätten crystalline patterns make every single example unique in the universe.